Let's take a nice deep breath, everyone. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining Lewis and I for this gathering, which was called forth by one of you a couple of weeks ago. We sat on it for a while, sat on our hands. Absolutely. Here we are. We've called this gathering this evening because it is not everyone, of course, is going to be watching this live. We call this pre-election decompression, right? And in this moment, Sunday evening, we are a couple of days away, yes, indeed, from a general election. But I want to be very, very clear with you all that the purpose, the why, the reason for getting together this evening, it's not about the election. The actual purpose, the real aim we're going for is your best state of being. If that's okay, if that's quite good, if that's amazing, if it's freaking amazing, whatever your best state is, that's what we're going for here, because your current state of being is going to lead what your next set of experiences are. Okay. Um, there's a lot of charged energy um, taking place around, yes, indeed, this current general election. That's what's called us together this evening. But let's be clear, we're not praying for an outcome here. No, we are looking to support you, each one of you, and as a community, we support others, right? Um, if anyone's meeting my very dear friend Lewis, I've known Lewis for over 10 years. He is a dear, dear friend, a mentor, a colleague to me. You want to say anything about yourself before I do more of that?
Just I'm happy to be here and just want to remind everybody that we are never just representing ourselves.
Mhm.
We connect to so many others. And so anything that you can take from this call, this process, this conversation, these energies that help you be in a better state, whatever that looks like, you will automatically be a blessing to the people around you. And as I watch the news, as I look at all the internet chatter, there's so much quote unquote chaos in our collective human expression, particularly at an emotional level. And anything we can do to sort of find that peaceful calm center, invoke clarity, be that force for love and charity and compassion, we're all the better off for it.
There's a line, one of the final lines in a Marvel movie where the two super robots are talking to each other. It's the second Avengers movie, Lewis, if you can help me with the reference here. And one says to the other, they're talking about humans. One says to the other, the problem is they do not realize that chaos and order are the same thing. And that's one of many things that the vision says that I really quite like. Anyway, let's get to this. Um, I said decompression, right? Decompression. I want to start with and just have a little back and forth with Lewis about what is conveyed by that with regard to the energetic, the conscious, the metaphysical concept, right? When there is decompression, we'll look at the other side in a minute. When there's decompression, there is an opening. I'd be wearing this shirt all day. Probably should have changed it, but somebody said to me, keep, obviously I'd keep it on. But somebody said to me, have this image around, and it's like the flower that opens. And so if we're talking about decompression, that is the aim here. Whether you need it or not, you're probably a couple of degrees of separation away from someone that does. So consider the decompression we're talking about is the opening. I've got this lovely flower on my chest here, this lovely opening, okay? And if you can conceive our own energy field, our auric field doing the same thing, allowing in, what's it allowing in? It's allowing you, it's allowing your true essence in. Allowing that true essence in and allowing out what maybe has gotten caught or stuck there. Lewis, do you want to say anything about that before I move on?
It's just important to remember that we really are multidimensional beings that are in a constant state of flux and flow. If you could see your auric field, it is this very dynamic panorama of energies and colors that change in an instant. And it's all controlled by our mental and emotional focus. So the more we can connect to that, higher, more peaceful aspect of ourselves, the more we can be grounded in the now, in the body, the more we can sort of show up for ourselves and the people around us in the most sort of beautiful, harmonious space possible. And if you do that, you'll not only be better in better shape for this election, you'll just be in better shape for life. So in a way, we're focusing on the election, we're also focusing on just being your best self, period.
Um, I'm just interested because you see things in a more visual way than I do. How do you see the actual process of etheric decompression? If you don't have an answer, that's fine. I'm just interested.
Yeah, I mean, if compression translates in a practical sense to something that's stuck. So let's say somebody's stuck in a fear about something or an insecurity about something. Or let's say somebody is stuck in an old pattern, a quote unquote tradition that's always been this way and has to be that way. Now, whatever you're stuck in, it's sort of think of it as tar or quicksand in the auric field. And as people are open to higher options, as they recognize that just because it's always been doesn't mean that's necessarily the best, or just because you're afraid of it doesn't mean there isn't something that can support you in becoming free. What I see is basically the dissolving of that tar, the dissolving of that quicksand, if you will. And as you said, there's more open, there's more flow. It's kind of like water in a creek. As long as it's moving and flowing, it's probably alive, it's probably in good shape. When it starts to get stagnant, full of sludge, it starts to die, and we're no different. And the good news is with a little mental emotional adjustment, we can change our flow, change our sed rate, if you will, in terms of just how much muck there is. And I suspect that's part of what you're going to be talking about.
So, if you if I was to say to you if I was to say to you all, let's take a breath. If I was to say that, you might take a breath. You probably might also think, oh, how much have I been breathing today? Oh, I haven't really taken a deep breath today. Now, that's very normal. If I was to like go to my glass, which I do for during these calls, you might think, oh, I've maybe drunk that much today. Or if I was more likely to say, how's your hydration? Hydration's important. That's the sort of thing someone like me says. Right? The number of times I've heard people say, "Oh, I haven't drunk enough," or reach for their bottle of water or something like that. These things that we all know are important. Like we all know, it's never a surprise. It's never new news. It's just about remembering to do it. These things that we know. So, um, it's not going to be really new news if I say to any of you, well, how does compressed energy get that way, right? So Lewis is talking about fear. It's not really doesn't really matter what we're afraid of. What actually matters is our own reaction to it, our own automatic reaction to it. And so we have a fear reaction or a trauma reaction or something like that, we close down, right? It's just a closing down. Even if we open up instinctually after that, we've closed down, we've stopped the flow. So if Lewis is talking about water or sludge, there's a slowing down, which there's a slowing down, there is going to be a buildup, all right? It's going to be a buildup of it. When there is a buildup, there is more slowing down. When there's more slowing down, that's when it gets compacted. That's when it starts to affect our overall state. All right. I feel like we've gone around that a couple of times. So never mind this particular election. What is it about an election, right? I'm saying this because again, you know all these things, but maybe you haven't computed them, maybe you haven't integrated them. With any election, given that it affects our lives in two or three different ways, we've got high emotional stakes, we've got emotional, informational overload, right? Particularly these days. I don't know that it was the case 15 years ago so much. There's a social pressure, like everywhere you go. I was in Starbucks earlier on, just comes up everywhere, you know. There's the uncertainty about the future, whatever your version of civic responsibility is. Okay, and as most of you know, this is my first time voting in this country, actually. The amount of distractions that is from daily life, the buildup of stress, the need for clarity, and on and on and on. Now that's an election. Then we've got this one. which seems a little unusual in terms of the degree of fear slash safety it's invoking in people and the amount of division and separation. I'm not going to beat the drum about it. It's pretty obvious to us all, but that's where this is all coming from. That's where it's coming from. That's where the kind of compression's coming from, and we've gotten together in order to do something about that, even just for the small group that we are. So we're connected with many people that we are serving and in service to, supporting right now, going to support tomorrow, or whatever it is. Our hope from getting us together today or whenever you're watching this is, yes, to support us right now, but also maybe to have this as something in your head to create a little bit of space, a little bit of distance, so that you can reset, you can recharge, you can expand and be more you. All right. So we're going to take you through. We're going to take you through a meditation process now. You're welcome to keep your eyes open, closed. It's going to be a particular experience, whichever way you do it. I'm going to begin with this, and then I'm going to let Lewis lead us through affirmations when we can get, when we're in a bit more of a balanced space. We'll have a little chat after that and let you get on with your day. So get yourself comfortable, please, if you will. Maybe if you want to switch your phone on silent. I won't be using music for this. It's not really necessary. And I say it's not necessary because, you just understand, by getting on a call like this, you've made an instinctual foundational choice. You said, I feel X, I want to feel Y. Feel a certain way, I want to feel a certain other way. If it's in your inclination, let's close your eyes. I'd like you to relax your stomach, your cheeks, and just feel the weight of your body on your chair. Start taking some deeper breaths if you would. I'd like you to bring your attention just to your heart now, to your chest. Having your attention there, and just noticing the breath around it. So you're not forcing the breath here, and quite the opposite. You're just noticing what the breath is doing. And of course, the breath, the active expression of the body into the environment. The signal to your environment of the miracle that you are and that you exist in. The breath knows exactly what to do. And as we breathe and we sit, we feel. Can you already see what a gift it is to take a few moments of silence? But what is happening here? You are reconnecting or affirming a connection to something that is already there. You are always connected. Yet your mind takes you elsewhere. Cords of distraction take you elsewhere. And so we've created an occasion of peace, and you can allow your essence just to be unfettered, unchained, unconnected to noise, to distraction, to imbalance, to just be. If it is comfortable to do so in this moment, I'd like you to take your right hand and place it on top of your solar plexus. You don't have to do this. If you prefer not to, and just take your mind and your attention there. We began with the heart and moved there, so you can let this essence of balance extend that to your solar plexus. Breathe. Breathe and feel the greater petals of your energy field opening up. Opening up and expanding around you. Because you have your team of loving and supporting guides around you. The I am presence, always there. And distracting energies that find their way into your energy field. In truth and reality, do not wish to be there because they are not at home in the loving, high vibrancy of your own energy field. Yes, the high vibrancy of your own energy field, regardless of how you see yourself, regardless of what you believe about yourself. Breathe. As you open up these petals around you, not only do you allow in the sweetness of support, but you release gracefully what you do not need. That which loves you, which is always there, which is you, wants you to be in your power, grounded in your own presence, in your own way. A loving beacon to your family, to your community. For it is so easy to speak about fear in the world. Yet the degree of love that flows through humanity at all times, however it seems, engulfs this fear infinitely, infinitely. Just allow a radiant wave of love to pulse from your chest now. Allow it to follow your heartbeat. Remembering that our intention for this coming together today is not about control. It's not about egoic want. It's to connect with your being and to allow what will be from there. We're going to take a few minutes, just briefly. And I'm going to invite you to just scan in your mind's eye your whole body from the top of your head all the way to your feet. There's no rush here. Just to see where you feel anything compacted, where you feel energized, where you feel expanded. You're doing beautiful work. Beautiful. Just let yourself get to your feet there. Let go of the idea that you do not know how to do this. You are doing wonderfully. Lewis, would you like to take us through some affirmations in support of this, please?
Certainly. So as you focus on your heart center and you feel the peaceful, radiant presence that is the real you, I invite you in consciousness and intent to connect to everyone you care about, your family, your friends, your colleagues, your neighbors. Recognize that we are one. So I read these affirmations first from the orientation of ourselves and then a larger group. Recognize that as you affirm, as you bring in the positive options, light frequencies, you have the ability to recognize you affirm for all. In this case, everyone associated in any way with the November 2024 elections, United States of America. So I invite you to feel this as I read these affirmations. I am calm and relaxed as I engage in the November 2024 election process, United States of America. My mind is clear and my heart is at peace as I vote for my highest and best choice on November 5th. Take a breath. Extend your light, the level of intent, to everyone associated with this election process, federal, state, local levels, those who can vote, those in charge, those connected to the voting process. Enfold them all. I affirm, we affirm, that the positive energies of peace and clarity are enfolding everyone associated with this November 2024 election process, United States of America. We affirm that this election process and the transitions of power that follow are occurring in a peaceful and productive manner and in divine order. Breathe. Recognize that same peaceful, radiant, dynamic presence, that spiritual sun that you are, is within every single person associated with this election process. No matter what the outer world may say, no matter what the ego sees or hears or understands, Spirit sees the truth, and we have the ability to support it, to reinforce it, to channel it, to celebrate it. I invite you to allow yourself to relax, knowing that we have helped the energies of peace, flow, harmony, clarity, enfold everyone involved in this election process before, during, and after November 5th. And for all these things, I am grateful.
I'd like you to all take a nice deep full breath, please. Now a nice deep breath to the abdomen. Big belly full of air. With your fingertips, just gently touch your temples there, your cheeks, your chest, your solar plexus, and then rest your hands. Take another breath. Open your eyes when you're ready. I find it important to remind people. Some of you have been in groups of mine before, and I'll say we represent people. We represent whole groups of people through our gender, regardless of where we are with that, where we're from, our age, our occupation, our beliefs, our values, ethnicity, neighborhood, right? Just by being. If you think about the tens, the hundreds, the millions, in some respects, ways, the numbers of people that you represent just for who you currently are, right? And you can support them or you can go the other way, of course, because it's always a choice. I'm saying that because we don't need to go on forever here. I don't like to. As we go through a week like this, there's going to be points of expansion, there's going to be points of compression, if I'm going to use that word today. I feel that, well, Luce and I were talking earlier on, if you're going to take a few minutes of each day for for purposes such as this, where in truth we don't know what the best outcome is. We just don't. We think we do. We don't. We don't. Got our best idea, but we don't, right? But we can intend higher than that. We can intend above this way or that way and ask to be supported in that way. I think the most supportive thing we can do for ourselves and others in this, if you're going to take a few minutes yourself, is just to call yourself back to your true essence, to the center moment, to your balanced state, as close as you can get to that. And I'm just going to speak personally for myself. Sometimes that goes well for me, and sometimes it's a nice intention that that's as far as I get. And I'm happy. I'm happy whichever way that is. So in terms of a few things that may support, I don't think any of this is rocket science really at this point, but I don't know how informed you need to be over the course of this week. I'd suggest limiting news consumption. I'd suggest movement, physical movement. I would suggest getting outside. A teacher of mine, and this is her picture down there. I would grab it, but maybe not right now. And she'd say, and she was a channeler as well, she'd say, get outside as much as you can because there's no walls, there's no barriers, there's nowhere for energy to collect outside. Talk to someone, call someone that will just listen to you. I was talking to Lewis earlier on, got something I need to talk to him about that happened earlier on today, and he's just going to listen to me, right? Not going to go back and forth, just going to listen to me, let me talk. There's more I can say. I'd rather hear it from a different filter right now. Lewis, do you want to add anything to that list?
Sure. The two other things you might either remember or consider that can help with the highest and best in this whole situation. First off, is just a lesson from classic psychology. People assume that the way they see the world is the way everybody else sees the world. We do that automatically without even taking it that's meant not to be true. So compassion becomes really important because if I've been reminded from several sources, we're never really sure what other people's stories are. We don't really know what's going on behind the scenes, behind the mask. And so we can have some compassion and some desire for their highest and best, whatever the drama they may be going through. And that certainly is true for all the people, including us, that are impacted by this election process, because we've all been impacted and we will be impacted. The second thing we can remember is that the same divine force that keeps the earth spinning and keeps the solar system in balance and keeps the Milky Way trucking along and takes care of everything else in creation is the exact same spirits as animating every single person, process, thing associated with this election. So whatever happens, individually or collectively, we're going to be fine. The idea here is to be more conscious about being peaceful, being flowing, being clear, so that we can show up as our best, most joyful self, make the best decisions we can, with the full understanding, wow, I may have just totally screwed up. But if I'm being my best self in that moment, that's all we can ever ask. So just invite you to remember those things as we move through, not just where we are now, but where we're going to be. Now, as we move toward the winter solstice on 12/21,
Yeah.
there's a lot of interesting things coming into the world in 2025, including a new president. And so we'll just see what Spirit has in mind.
Yeah. Yeah. And with that, I think well, there's always more to say, isn't there? But I think that will do. I think that will do. I think that will do. Yeah. Yeah. Then can we all take a nice breath together, please? I really appreciate, I hugely appreciate you all showing up. Deeply appreciate that. As I say, it is a foundational choice. Did we deliberately made the title of this class as boring as possible? Because it simply quite is about service, and service sometimes is boring, right? It's thankless. When you're truly in service, no one sees you do it. No one sees you do it. I mean, actually, trillions see you do it. But the sort of thing we do for reward and so on. No. The depth of service that truly, when we pass the other side, you'll get thanks aplenty then, but in that time, no. The depths of service that reflect your integrity, right? When no one's watching, makes such a difference. Lewis, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think we'll let you all go. Have a wonderful Sunday or whatever day it is when you see this.
Thank you both.
God bless
Thank
everyone.
you both.
Take care.
Same to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.